Today we're in Tianjin, or as Max and I like to call it, the city that Europe stole from China. And that's because after China's defeat in the Opium Wars, England practically took over this city and divided it among its allies, as if they were pieces of a cake. But even though this city has had a dark past, today we've come to explore the more modern side of Tianjin and its development, both in tourism and in commerce and technology. But for that, first we have to leave this airport and take a taxi to our hotel, because this time we have a huge suitcase. And there was no other way, because it's really cold in this city and the clothes I needed to bring take up a lot of space. It's almost 11 a.m. and 2 degrees Celsius, not very early or late. Today's high is 5 degrees, low is 4. This jacket won't be enough for me, so I'm going to have to take out my winter clothes right away, because if I don't, I'm going to freeze outside. Earmuffs, gloves, and to top it all off, a jacket for minus 40 degrees. But anyway, time to go out. I hope I don't freeze. It's okay, it's calm, it doesn't feel that bad. Or maybe it's because I came prepared. Honestly, I was worried. We already have Didi. Hello, sir.
Give me your suitcase, I'll help you.
Okay, thank you very much.
Where are you from?
I'm Spanish. Do you speak English?
No, not much.
Well, even if it's just a little, that's very good.
I really like Barcelona. The Barcelona soccer team.
Barcelona, they're great.
Also Real Madrid.
They're really awesome too.
I agree.
It's about 30 minutes to the hotel. On the way, I'll explain why Tianjin is such an important city and why England decided to take this city specifically. When China lost the Opium Wars, one of the most important things for England was to take cities that had a port so they could gain control of foreign trade and bring their products into the country. That's why they settled a lot in cities like Lianyungang or Hong Kong, which basically has the sea all around it. And it's the same case with the city of Tianjin, except Tianjin has another point, and that's because it's located just 120 kilometers from Beijing, and it's the closest port to the country's capital. So at that time, it was a strategic point for England to put pressure on the capital, because by controlling Tianjin, at that time it was impossible for the Chinese Empire to ignore the opinion of these powers that were occupying such an important territory. And that also directly influenced the city's aesthetics, because if you walk through these streets, you'll realize that it doesn't look at all like what you would imagine China to be. Since each country had its own designated district or concession, you can feel like you're walking through Italy, and a few blocks later you're strolling through London or the city of Paris. It's nice, pretty spacious. We even have a hallway and entryway. Over here we have the bathroom, which is also quite big, and here is the bed, a desk. The room is pretty practical, and the best part is that we have a view. A nice one of the city of Tianjin. But anyway, enough about the hotel. Let's go out for a walk now. We've arrived at our tour's starting point. Behind me is the Haihe River, a key river in this region. And for centuries, this river has been the main route for transportation and trade in Tianjin. It linked the Grand Canal to northern China's interior and the Bohai Sea, where maritime trade was active. And because of this, the grains, salt, silk, and various products that circulated turned Tianjin into a commercial area, a strategic point for domestic trade, maritime trade, and the exchange of goods between several countries. In fact, if you walk along this entire river, you will find many of the buildings we visited in the first video we made last year about Tianjin, which have foreign architecture. It's full, it's a very beautiful landscape, so I recommend it if you want to take a walk. From here you can also see much taller and more modern buildings. But that's a surprise for later, because in that area over there is the Tianjin World Financial Center, which is one of the most unique buildings I've ever seen in my life. It's 336 meters tall with 79 floors, and the top floor has an observation deck where we'll enjoy the city's nighttime view. But for now, our first stop is Tianjin Ancient Culture Street. This building at the entrance of Tianjin Culture Street is not just any building. The guide said this was originally a stage and Tianjin opera shows were performed here, and that the boats passing by on the river right in front could enjoy these performances. If you come, it's very important that you go through this arch, which symbolizes the entrance to a cultural site in this country. Isn't it a spectacular view? It's so beautiful. This architecture is all Mingqing style, and I truly feel like I'm walking in an ancient Chinese village. We came a little early and on a weekday, so all these food stalls that should be full right now are empty, the employees aren't working. I also came to this cultural street with the goal of trying one of Tianjin's most famous local dishes. And in the center of the cultural street, we found one of the most important structures. It's a temple called the Palace of the Queen of Heaven. To enter the palace, you do have to pay 10 yuan. The ticket office is right here in front. It's a very automatic process because they just put a sign here with a QR code for you to pay for your ticket, and that's it. There go your 10 yuan. They gave me a little ticket once I paid, so you can take it as a souvenir. It's really pretty. Do I have to give them the ticket?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. The Queen of Heaven is one of the nicknames given to the goddess Matsu, who is the goddess of the sea. See how beautiful this part of the temple is, decorated with steles. Here we have one of these places where we can leave the tablets, these red wooden ones, with our wishes. And here we also have, I think, a place to buy flowers, incense, that kind of thing, so you can take them as an offering to the Queen of Heaven. This here is actually something a bit new to me. They have a machine like the ones they have in churches where you put in a coin and then a little candle lights up. But this is like the Chinese version. I think they have the goddess Matsu here. And it's really interesting because from what I see, you write your name on the figure you light and you can also write down your wish. Let's see how it works. Let's scan the code. It gave me all these options. Here we have like the blessings we can ask from Goddess Matsu, peace and prosperity. There's also an option that says in Chinese, which means, may you have children soon. That's a very typical wish at Chinese weddings. Let's prioritize health. It's the most important thing in life, friends. The next step is to choose how long you want your candle to stay lit. So you have options of 9, 33, 99, and 365 days. You can light the candle all year, but I'll pick the 9-day one. It costs 27 yuan. Oh, it's ringing.
Number 26 has been lit by the Queen of Heaven.
Oh, look, my candle. I am immortalized in the goddess Matsuen Tianjin temple for 9 days. This and the one at Luopan must be some of the most unique experiences I've had in a Chinese temple. Look, they have a kind of souvenir market here. We have some bracelets and some items that are both for prayer and to attract good vibes. This little stand here is more focused on massages. We have some brushes and instruments for giving yourself a scalp massage. And we also have back scratchers there. And for enthusiasts, we also have brushes for practicing traditional Chinese calligraphy.
Where are you visiting us from?
Mexico.
Let's say hello.
Hello, do you speak Spanish?
Good evening.
Good evening, yes, very well.
How long will you be in China?
Forever.
Which cities in China have you visited? Who's in Tianjin?
I have visited 30 out of the 34 provinces in China.
You're awesome. Welcome to Tianjin.
Thank you, thank you. It's a beautiful city.
Goodbye, goodbye.
Goodbye, 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 goodbye. This man spoke a little Spanish. Maybe he has met many tourists who come from Spanish-speaking countries. After all, he works with souvenirs. But enough with the introductions. Let's get to what really matters, which is the food. And right now, we're going to try the famous Janbing Guosi from Tianjin. Hello, ma'am. I'd like to order a Janbing Guosi.
Coming right up.
What is the batter made of?
It's made of green beans.
How long have you been making Janbings?
A long time, for as long as I can remember.
Oh, okay.
This is very easy to do.
Are they in other cities too?
Also, but their dough is not made from mung beans. Only here do we have that dough. Besides, our Tianjin Jinbing Guozi doesn't have strange ingredients added. We don't put vegetables, sausage, or anything like that. Just the crispy cracker.
What ingredients is that crispy cracker made of?
Made with flour. Want it spicy?
Yes, how much do I owe you?
It's 15 win.
Here's our Jianbing guosi. We're going to try it. I thought they were going to put more things inside because in many parts of this country they sell jianbing, but it doesn't look the same as this one. Each place adds its own unique ingredients. Warm and crispy? What sauce is this?
Fermented wheat sauce.
It has a kind of sweet sauce, which is this one here, and it's also kind of spicy at the same time. Maybe it's because she added chili. I can't believe that just when I had finished eating my jianbing guosi, I suddenly found this delicious food market. Even though I wouldn't have chosen to eat something else, I just wanted to see what was there. But I just found the crown jewel. How much does it cost? Is it roasted pear?
Correct!
I'll order one. How much is it?
20 yuan.
It's my favorite winter drink.
I see.
All right, thank you very much. Look at this delicious dish. It's perfect for the cold weather we're having today. I love that it has jelly mushroom. It's called jelly mushroom in English. It's this thing here that looks like gelatin, and at first I thought it looked kind of gross, but I love it. And inside here we also have a whole pear, roasted with some dates, so it's a little sweet, it's warm. For me, it's the perfect drink in winter. It's like China's version of hot chocolate. Another thing I've noticed a lot around this street are shops with clay figurines, and I was wondering, why is that? Well, this type of art is known as Shang's clay figurines. Shang is the last name of a famous artist who lived here in Tianjin. What made this person so popular and special in Tianjin is that his clay figurines, which were made 100% by hand and according to a classic saying, had to be finished without using a knife. They portrayed different gestures, postures, clothing, and characters from the daily life of this city. And this art was not an expensive art. It wasn't for the great elites, but rather it was an art for the common people of the town. Here we even have a museum of this type of figurines. I imagine this must be Zhang Minshen, who is the famous creator of this kind of art. Just look at the architecture of this museum. It's beautiful, and these are the figures I'm referring to. If you see, they're not leaders, generals, or anything related to political positions, but rather common people. Because of their essence, these figurines are found everywhere on the street and in the workshops where they're made. It's said that this is an art that's not meant to be in a museum, but to be lived. As part of today's itinerary, I included a cultural activity, which is the Tianjin Opera. Although Tianjin is only 120 kilometers from Beijing, the two cities have very different operas. So we came to the Red Flag Theater to enjoy this show. And now I'm going to tell you more about what the differences are, because from what I read, I think I'm going to like this one more than the previous one. And that's saying a lot, because Beijing Opera is the most iconic or most famous opera in this country. Let's go inside so I can explain what this opera is about and how it differs from the iconic and famous Beijing Opera. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Here we have one of the characters that seems to appear in this type of opera, and if you look closely, it's a woman, which in fact is one of the differences that this type of opera has compared to Beijing Opera, where in most cases women are the protagonists. Today we're in luck because we're not watching a regular performance of Tianjin Opera, but we came to the rehearsal. I don't know if you remember, but the last time we were at the Chinese opera, I didn't understand anything about the story. The way they spoke was very complex. And unlike that type of opera, Tianjin opera has a much simpler way of speaking, because while Beijing opera is more imperial class, this type of opera is for the people. It's about everyday life. So the characters aren't great generals or rulers, but they represent the common people. Because Tianjin is a city with a port, the themes in the performances of this type of opera are also related to commerce and being in a port city. As you saw last time in the Beijing opera, the aesthetics are very stylized with symbolism in the colors, gestures, and movements. However, in this type of opera, everything is much more laid back. What is prioritized is clarity when speaking and also that the audience can identify with the characters. Speaking of characters, Beijing opera features fixed roles, but the opera behind me does not. The characters are much more flexible and changeable, and as you saw in the introduction and I mentioned earlier, it has a strong female presence. The singing style of this type of opera is much softer, and that, along with the vocabulary and expressions they use, which are much more common, allows me as a foreigner to understand the plot much better. It's really cool to see this from backstage because on the other side I'm also watching all the musicians who play the melodies for this type of opera. Since I couldn't see them, I assumed the music was from the speakers and pre-recorded. But no, everything is completely live. Here's the backstage where all the artists prepare. And we're going to do it today too. We're going to have the very important person experience. In fact, I think all these people here are actors. Let's get dressed. The first piece we're going to put on is this little skirt and now the top, which is like a wrap blouse. Well, there was a change of plans because in the end it turns out that they were already going to use that costume for their performance. The lady right behind me is the person in charge of this theater, and one of the journalists who is traveling with us was asking what they are doing so that this kind of art doesn't get lost and to attract new generations. And it's true, it must be a challenge to explain to younger people who are used to TikTok, movies, and having so many stimuli to appreciate Tianjin opera or Beijing opera. And they say that what they do is give a lot of performances in schools. They bring the costumes, dress the children up like in the opera, and teach them the movements. And another thing is that the themes of this type of opera, since they don't have as many structures or rules as Beijing opera, can be adapted to current topics. We're now about 3 blocks from Cultural Street, and I think the whole district we're in must be dedicated to traditional art. Because right now we're in a place that was a turning point in the history of the development of Chinese opera. Welcome to the Guangdong Guild Hall, a traditional Chinese building where important meetings of groups dedicated to various activities used to take place. For example, since we're in Tianjin and Tianjin was such an important city for trade, probably many merchants or many transporters gathered in this hall. This here is one of the rooms where very important meetings were held. But I think that in this one specifically, matters related to Chinese opera were discussed. If you look at the paintings on the sides, they are like masters of Chinese opera. We also have some parts of the costumes, and the guide was telling us that all these carved wooden plaques on the wall are names of famous operas from all over the country. This Chinese opera stage was built between 1860 and 1880, around the same time foreigners arrived in this city. Though many traditional buildings from that era were demolished, this one was saved because it wasn't seen as a place of commerce or military importance, but rather as a cultural space. Before spaces like this existed, Chinese opera, which is quite prominent in these kinds of places, was performed in temporarily adapted spaces, whether temple courtyards, plazas, or markets. However, this place was kind of left behind, a bit abandoned, because with the arrival of Westerners came modern entertainment, clubs, and cinemas. Now, one of the things you'll notice if you enter this place is that on the stage there's a plaque that says Lai Nang Feng Chong. And that's because at first, mainly operas from the south of the Canton area were performed here, and later on Beijing operas, but in its earliest stage. At the back of the stage there are places where the performers come. We have the chairs, the mirrors where they get ready, and all the costumes they use, which are beautiful. The last time I went to Beijing, I had the opportunity to go to a Beijing opera, and after that I also went to a workshop where they make the costumes. And they told us that these costumes often take months to make, the most elaborate ones, and that each one can cost 600,000 yuan depending on the complexity, right? Some are cheaper, but hand embroidering each one is a lot of work. Now we are in the Heating district where the historic center of Beijing is located. But while we've come here before to explore the buildings with classic architecture, this time we're here to see the complete opposite. What an amazing building. This is definitely one of the most iconic buildings I've seen in this country, and I've seen a lot. This is the Tianjin World Financial Center, and it's part of a modernization project for this area, which is known as the Heart of Tianjin. Let's stop talking and go inside now, because this building, which is 333 meters tall with 79 floors, has an observation deck on the top floor. We'll head up for a better view of the district's night scenery. I imagine this is similar to the Shanghai Tower, where you can visit several floors, a small shop, and an observation deck. And this right here is the ticket office of the most famous building in the heart of Tianjin. This elevator goes so fast and so high that my ears pop just from the pressure, from the speed at which we're going up. And here we are on the 79th floor of the Tianjin World Financial Center, from where we have a 360-degree view of this entire district. It's amazing because you can clearly tell which buildings are classic and which ones are newer. Everything is lit up, that's for sure, and what we're seeing here is actually the famous river of Tianjin. It's the Haihe River. Now you might be wondering if this building didn't exist before, because construction started in 2004. What was here before, in its place? Well, there were old buildings, administrative offices, traditional commercial areas, and some of the infrastructure inherited from the European concession era. And well, not everything was demolished. What was in the place of this tower was, yes, but many of the surrounding buildings were given a second life through renovation. I don't know if you can see it well here on camera, but it's amazing. No matter where you look, it's incredible. And speaking of the fact that cities in China are lit up, because it's not just Tianjin. If you go to Shanghai, Chongqing, Suzhou, and so many other cities, even those that aren't even considered second or third tier, at night, some buildings light up, and you may wonder where all that energy comes from. It's no coincidence that this country is the one with the highest electricity consumption in the world, but it's also the country that produces the most electricity worldwide. And not only that, but it's also a leader in renewable energy, with 35% of the world's installed solar panels. And more than a third of the energy consumed in this country comes from clean energy sources. In fact, a while ago we went to a showroom here in Tianjin, where they told us about several projects and initiatives that China has to become a much cleaner and more sustainable country, without having to give up the privilege of lighting up the 20 kilometers of illuminated buildings they have in Shanghai. For example, they have reduced pollution nationwide in every way, including the noise levels in big cities like Shenzhen, which, thanks to the use of electric cars, now have very quiet streets. And in fact, just in 2024, 48% of all the cars sold that year were electric or hybrid. But besides that, they also told us and showed us that they are putting a lot of effort and a lot of capital into recycling various materials. They're also working with countries from the European Union on the circular economy, which seeks to reduce waste and maximize resource use throughout their lifespan. And I'm telling you this also because Tianjin is a very important epicenter for this kind of initiative. It's a pioneer in clean energy and in these kinds of innovative projects. So that's also something very admirable about this city. I hope you enjoyed this tour. Follow us if you loved our content. See you next time. Zaijian.